This right here is Riley Cooper. She is a Trump voter who was just fired by Elon Musk. I have video footage of her talking about her story in just a moment, but here's a little bit of background on what happened. Besides motherhood was her most pressing concern, Cooper, 24, and her husband are trying to get pregnant. But the doctor said that IVF might be their best chance. Trump had promised to make it free. That is what she thought about in the voting booth. Well, she would have known Trump's real position if she would have followed not only trusted sources, but also knowing their biases. That's why, for me, I've been relying on my partners at Ground News. They're a small, independent team who built an app and website that gathers news from across the spectrum so I can compare coverage on any issue with data on each source's political bias and credibility. This way, I'm forming my own conclusion based on all of the facts. Go to ground.news/Keith or scan my QR code to track important topics like US politics, or simply copy any article link into their search bar to find the full coverage on that story. And I've been looking into Donald Trump's endless executive orders, and Ground News analyzed hundreds of sources reporting on this. And I love that you can even sort by recency, credibility, or bias to filter perspectives. And I found, literally, the only news source reporting on Trump making bribing politicians legal again. So I cannot recommend Ground News enough. It is a critical tool in this age of misinformation where we can know exactly what type of bias the reporting has, and we can make sure we're getting all the facts. I think Ground News is solving a huge problem in media coverage today, one I've talked about a lot on this channel: the overload, distraction, and missing context that's skewing our perspective. So if you're tired of getting lost in the chaos, get the same unlimited access Vantage plan I use for almost half the price. Just go to ground.news/Keith or scan my QR code to subscribe for $5 a month. A corrupt system doesn't change overnight, but the first step is awareness. Get it at Ground News. It was the second Thursday in February, and a historic White House purge aimed at federal workers like Cooper was sweeping the country. But Riley thought she was safe because she only makes $40,000 a year. She makes $40,000 a year, and she was let go, fired by Donald Trump and Elon Musk, two of the richest people in the world. And besides motherhood was her most pressing concern, the reason why she voted for Trump is because she said that the only way she could get pregnant is through IVF, and she thought that Trump would make it free. Well, the only thing that Trump has done is fired hardworking, good Americans, and I don't think he's ever going to make IVF free. But here is Riley's story.
It was really hard. I was on the phone with my best friend, Kaylee, at the time, and we were just discussing her life and how things were going. And I looked at my phone, and I had gotten a text from our union rep, and he told me that I was going to be fired the next day. And I told her, I have to go. I'm getting fired tomorrow. And my heart just sank. Yeah, it's hard from my perspective to approach the current administration with hope. I've been dealing with infertility now for about a year. I've had multiple surgeries in my life. So, going into the voting booth, the main thing on my mind was the same thing I'd been thinking about for the past 11 months. And it was, I want to be a mom. And women who have gone through that experience, that heartbreaking feeling of wanting something that you might never have, they understand how much of your time is taken up with those thoughts and how overwhelming and lonely it can feel. So as someone who is more of a swing voter, sometimes that's what it comes down to, is those single issues. Because when you step into the voting booth, you're thinking of what's important to you and like the issues that are resonating with you in that moment. And for me in that moment, like, it took me a while, and I made a decision that, looking back, I'm not proud of, but it's the reality of my situation now. I do feel regret, and I've had a lot of tumultuous thoughts about that day in the election booth. You know, when you're voting on something that affects you so personally, it's really
Mhm.
easy to get tunnel vision, especially in a voting booth when you're staring at you have two options, right? I mean, it's not like you're given an endless amount of options
Yeah.
um, to achieve your goals. And so afterwards, when I thought maybe this is my chance, I also had to come to terms with the fact that I was likely going to be a part of, taking chances away from other groups of people, and that's never sat well with me.
Really sad, really upsetting. Donald Trump fooled a lot of good people, in my opinion. She actually voted for Joe Biden in 2020 and felt like life became more complicated. Her mortgage was too expensive. Groceries were nearly $400 a month. And as we said, she was only making $40,000 a year. And one single cycle of IVF could cost more than 10% of her annual household income. So when Trump, at a campaign stop an hour and a half from her, had promised to make IVF free, she believed him. She believed him. She also believed him when he said that Project 2025, the conservative blueprint for the next Republican administration that suggested mass cuts to the federal workforce, was not his plan. Well, and this is where I'm like, this is where I just don't think it's fair to blame folks completely, because the mainstream media also did a lot of heavy lifting for Trump when it came to this stuff. You might all remember that Donald Trump kept saying, I had nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with it. And then legacy news outlets would fact check Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, saying when they said that Donald Trump's plan is Project 2025, legacy media would say that, would fact check them and say, actually, Donald Trump has denied any involvement in Project 2025, as if like Donald Trump isn't the biggest liar in American history. He is incapable of telling the truth. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz were right. And because the legacy media carried the water for Trump, folks like Riley are suffering. So 4 days later, after Trump fired her, Cooper was in bed with her husband. She picked up her phone and saw the news. There was a new executive order to expand access to IVF. She read the White House fact sheet, which talked about Trump's request for policy recommendations to reduce costs of the service. But it still wasn't free. She was out of a job and out of a plan. Delivering on promises for American families, read the White House announcement. That's bullshit, she recalled thinking, and then put down her phone. Yeah. Donald Trump has lied about a lot of things, and this is the thing where people are really going to start waking up, because he overpromised and he's going to underdeliver. And I don't know about you guys, but have you seen the stock market lately? Because stocks are crashing and egg prices have never been higher. Record high egg prices could increase another 41%. 41%. It's $12 here. I've seen pictures of $18, $24. Egg prices are already at a record high. I would love to know what egg prices are where you live. I know not everyone buys eggs. I eat eggs all the time. It is what I eat for breakfast. And I am definitely experiencing this. It is so much money. But that's the thing. Donald Trump promised he was going to lower costs. And he also promised that he was going to, make America great again. And it is frustrating because most people who are watching this channel and me, we knew where this was all heading. And now we're here. And it's people like Riley who are going to wake up and hopefully vote the right way next time, if there is a next time, which I don't think we talk enough about. We can talk about that on another episode. But thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.